So now we will see what are the set of attributes. An attribute is a named property of a class which describes the object being modeled. An attribute is a named property which is used to describe the object being modeled. So basically, the set of attributes are used to define the qualities of that particular class instances. So every class has specific set of attributes. So in the class diagram, this component is placed just below the name compartment. The first compartment is basically the name of the class, and the second compartment of the rectangle is basically the attributes of that particular class. For example, in order to define the attributes for a class which is called the student class, we need three attributes. The name of the student, which will used to uniquely identify a student, the address of a student, and the birth date of a student in order to store information about the particular instances of this particular class, which is called the student class. So, in order to model the student class, we need the name and the address and the birth date of the class student. Now we will see that what is a derived attribute in a class. A derived attribute is computed from other attributes. For example, an age of the student can be easily computed from his or her birth date. So as we have discussed earlier, that a student class will have the three particular attributes and the one derived attribute: the name, the address, and the birth date. Next we have the attribute which is called age, and age can be derived using the birth date of the student. So now we will discuss what is the visibility factors. Visibility allows to constrain the usage of the named elements either in the class or in access to the other elements. In order to restrict the use of some attributes, we need to define the visibility types. UML has the following types of visibilities. Number 1, the public visibility, package visibility, protected visibility, and the private visibility. So in order to restrict the use of some specific attribute of a class, we need to define the visibility types for each attribute. That can be public, package, protected, and private. The visibility of the attributes and operations can be represented in the following different ways. So, in order to restrict the use of some attributes or operations within a class can be used to represent in different ways. The first one is the public. A public member is visible from anywhere in the system. In a class diagram, it is prefixed by the symbol plus, or we can say the addition. So, an element or attribute with the public specifier or visibility type can be accessed from anywhere in the system in which it is defined. So basically it is represented by the literal of this particular addition symbol. So next we have the private specifier. A private member is visible only from within the class. It cannot be accessed from outside the class. A private member is prefixed by the symbol of this subtraction. So, in order to restrict the visibility only to the class within which the particular attribute is defined, we will use the private specifier. Using the private specifier, we cannot access the particular attribute from the outside of the class. So basically it is represented by using this particular symbol or literal. So next we have the protected specifier. A protected member is basically visible from within the class and from the subclasses inherited from this particular class, but not from the outside. It is prefixed or represented by the symbol or literal hash. So, a protected member is only visible within that class in which it is presented and from the subclasses of the particular class, and those subclasses are basically inherited from this particular class. So we cannot access this protected member from outside the class. We can just access this particular attribute inside that particular class and the subclasses of that particular class. So let us consider an example in order to understand the visibility types. Let us consider the circle class. So this one is basically the circle class, a class with the name circle represented by using the first capital alphabet, and the name should be written at the center of this particular compartment. The attributes of the circle are the x coordinates, y coordinates, and the radius. So, in order to consider the set of attributes, we have this x coordinate, y coordinate, and the radius. The operations are find area, find circumference, and scale using a class named as circle. So the set of operations or methods that we can perform using the circle class can be find area function, find circumference function, and the scale function. Let us assume that the x coordinates and y coordinates are private data members. As we can see in the figure, that x coordinate and y coordinate are the private data members, and private data members are those members which can only be accessed within the particular class in which they are specified. We cannot access the private data members from outside the circle class. The radius is a protected data member, and the member function are basically the public. So the next attribute is basically protected attribute, which is called the radius of the particular circle. So in the second compartment of the class, we will define the set of attributes with their relevant visibility types. The protected attribute is the one which can be used inside the particular class and can be accessed from the classes inherited from the given class, which is called the circle.